let's start off with a grounding exercise.
Beautiful.
All right, so we'll start by closing our eyes and starting at the top of your head, relax your scalp completely. Feel the skin of your forehead and temples relax. Allow your eye muscles to release, your jaw to soften, and let your ears, nose, chin, teeth, tongue, and gums relax. Now just let this peaceful feeling flow down your neck. Feel it soothe your throat and dissolve any tension on contact as it glides down your shoulders, upper arms, forearms, wrists, and hands. Continue to breathe. Breathe in health, happiness, and harmony. Breathe out any tension, toxins, worries, or disease, allowing anything that does not serve you to leave your body like a dark cloud. Imagine a golden, glowing ball of light about a foot above the crown of your head. On an inhalation, breathe that light in through the top of your head, right down to the tailbone. On the exhalation, breathe that light back up the way it came and out the top of your head. Feel how good it feels to have all of this energy you need to do all the things that you love to do. You feel so grateful for the magnificent body that moves so freely and looks so good. Feel yourself healthier than ever. Now visualize a beautiful pot of gold above your head once again, overflowing with sparkling gold coins. This is your unique pot of gold, filled with everything you could ever want. Let the gold rain down on you. Spend it as you like in this peaceful state of visualization of all of your dreams coming true as you finally lay claim to your pot of gold. Now slowly open your eyes.
That was nice, Sev. I like that.
Yes, thank you. That was exactly what I needed today.
So, Kaillei, we are so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you.
For anyone who's listening, Kaillei, among many things, she's an executive coach, a keynote speaker, and the first time I crossed paths with you, Kaillei, it was at a women's conference, and you were speaking, and I was just awe-inspired by your message and your ability to engage with your audience and the mindfulness exercises that you offered. And so I know that you create sacred spaces for women. And so we're just so humbled to have you here sharing space with us today. And we would just love for you to share just a bit about yourself and anything that you would love to offer as a part of your journey that has brought you here today.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you both for welcoming me here and for creating this beautiful space for me to enter into. I'm so calm now. But again, as you mentioned, my name is Kaillei Carr. I lead a leadership development company called the Asbury Group. And at the Asbury Group, we say we see you. We see our clients' potential. We see the wisdom they have and the brilliance they have. And a lot of the work that we do is to allow them to reconnect with that brilliance that is inside them. Typically, most of the people we work with work in corporate environments. And since most of our clients are women and people of color, in environments where not enough people look like them, a lot of the work we do is almost reminding people who they are. So on the corporate side of things, I lead leadership development programs, workshops, speaking engagements, corporate retreats, and other experiences. And then with individuals, I have the Beyond the Business Suit podcast, which I've had for over almost 7 years now, and also lead a women's retreat. I have a community called the Beyond Community that's really helping to elevate women personally and professionally. And then I also do create some consumer-facing experiences to help them to really become the women they were created to be. Some of my journey on how I got to this work and what I do believe is my life's work. I spent over 15 years in corporate environments, and was on that corporate climb. And in 2013, it was a very pivotal year for me. I was leading a marketing department at a technology company. I was planning my wedding. I was taking care of my mother, who was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer, and a lot was going on personally, and honestly, so much was going on personally that professionally I wasn't being fed. And knowing knowing the work that I do now, it's almost comical to think about, like, me being in marketing and teaching people how to use their ad technology better. Like, it wasn't in alignment, but I didn't completely know that yet. I knew that what was happening personally was more important, and I was kind of checked out. And I loved my team. My company was great. They asked me to move to their corporate headquarters. I was in Chicago. The headquarters was in Philadelphia, and I was at the time was not interested in all at all. And they said, we understand what's going on with your mom. We'll wait until she gets better. If you don't want to move, though, that's a different conversation. And we had that conversation. So, long story short, my last day working there was on August 2nd, 2013, and on August 5th, my mom passed away, and everything changed. And during that time, when you see the fragility of life right in front of your face, not to mention my mom was just an amazing human being. Like, talk about an earth angel, like, to the point that she collected angels because so many people in her life considered her to be an angel. So she had like 40 of them in the house that we gave away to her friends when she passed away. I knew that this next phase of life, of my career at least, was really to give back and to use my gifts and my expertise to help others. And that's when I started my practice. So I started my practice in April of 2014, and here we are 7 years later, almost 7 years later, and it's gone through a lot of beautiful evolutions. And I'm just so privileged to be able to do the work that I do and connect with the people that I'm able to connect with.
That is just beautiful. Love knowing that story about your mother. Thank you for openly sharing that because it really is inspiring. And I'm not surprised that you are the daughter of somebody who is considered an angel on earth and collected angels. And that's just so beautiful. And on this podcast, we're all about personal growth and tools and just hearing just what you've shared. And I'm sure that doesn't cover everything that you have on your plate, and I can only imagine what a day in the life of Kaillei Carr looks like. But being the multifaceted woman that you are, how would you say that you balance and protect your energy with all that you have on your plate?
Great question. One of the things that I do daily is I have a morning routine. So before I even get out of bed, I take, sometimes it's as short as 7 minutes to come back into my body and I have a 5 step morning routine that I go through. And a part of it is, getting centered, elevating my energy, extending gratitude, setting my intentions for the day, and visualizing. And so that's something that I've done for the past at least 3 years. And yes, a little bit over 3 years now, each and every day, to get myself grounded and centered for the day. And sometimes I need to do that throughout the day. These past almost 12 months or 11 months have been tremendous, right? And they've included a lot of ups and downs, and just different ways of living, and in the work that I do, and creating sacred spaces for women who are oftentimes in executive roles, and mothers and caregivers, and super women in many different regards, and experiencing the world as they're experiencing that. If I've spoken to, I remember one week I had probably 200 women that I spoke with the different groups that I was facilitating and cohorts I had in June, and it was just too much. I realized that my energy I was drained. And that really taught me that as someone who pours into others, I need to really take stock of my energy and protect that. So I took a week where I just unplugged and protected that week. So in terms of what I do in addition to my morning routine, I often check in with myself to listen to what my body needs, and as much as possible, being obedient to what it's asking for.
Yeah, yeah. And if you reflect on, you said that you've consistently had this morning routine for at least 3 years that you can recall. What can you, as you reflect, can you tell the difference between not having that consistent daily mindfulness, beautiful mindfulness routine versus now,
Oh
and
yeah.
pertains to your daily life, work, family, and everything else in between?
Absolutely. I mean, I am less reactive. I can have more space even in my mind and energy to be able to respond instead of react. Now, my husband and my daughter may beg to differ, but I do believe that that I am much better with the morning routine than without. So I'm still human. I still have my moments.
And thank you for sharing that, because that is the thing. It can look perfect or polished from the outside looking in, and just to have that humanness about it, and just to be honest and transparent. Like, even though this is a mindfulness practice daily that helps, and you know where it helps, and you feel into the difference, whether it's, with, if you make time for it or not. And as long as you're centered with it, then that's what matters. So,
Right.
and so, going back to your career, what is one thing that you wish you had known when you began your career that you are certain of today?
Hmm. There's so many that are coming to mind. I would say one thing is to embrace those parts of myself that are truly who I am. When I think about uh, growing up and even as a child, some of the things that I was naturally inclined to do that were very creative. My parents wanted the best for me, and they encouraged me to do things like think about engineering. You're good at science and math, or think about being an attorney, or those things that were very prestigious but not in alignment. And although I think there were aspects of every job I had that did have some level of alignment with my strengths, it wasn't until I really felt like I was doing work that was aligned with exactly who I was that I could see the difference. And I didn't think that I was being performative before until I was really in alignment with with the work that I do today. And it's like, oh my gosh, I was trying so hard, and it felt like I was performing. So what I would tell my younger self earlier in my career is pay attention to those aspects of yourself that make you you, and lean into those things. Don't dim any of that. Don't dim that light, because anytime you dim that light, you're preventing yourself from being from fully embracing the beauty of this life.
Mm. Wow, what a beautiful answer. And in terms of your audience, or whomever you are reaching out to share your message with, how would you say you connect so well?
I am very clear that the work that I do is not about me. It's not about me. And I know that I have a direct line to a higher power, and I have submitted myself to being a vessel, honestly. So I had a moment this week also where I felt disappointed. There were some doors closing, and I was really discouraged and disappointed. And then I had a conversation with a friend, which resulted in a reality check when I was like, oh, yeah, this is not about me.
Mm.
This is not about me. So these doors closing It's not because I did something wrong per se. It's a part of the process, and it doesn't make sense to me now, but there is a bigger purpose. There is a greater purpose. I am on a divine path. So I find that because that's where the work that I do is coming from. And let me say also, even with my previous answer, I understand that not everyone is meant to do work that is aligned with their purpose. Not, that's not all of our paths, and that is okay. It just happens to be mine. And so that's where I'm speaking from. But I think that the people who are attracted most to me are those who also have something in them that inspires them, or there's something about me that inspires them to be more in alignment with their purpose and to be more connected with the divine and to shine their authentic self brighter. And so I think with my intention in creating spaces where I really truly want the people there to have that for themselves, that is just a beautiful thing. I mean, magic happens. Magic happens. The divine shows up. It's just a beautiful thing.
It does, and I feel everything you're saying, and it's so nice to know that you're able to understand that what is your purpose and how it's in alignment with your giving back and your sharing your message is not everyone else's path or not everyone else's purpose. But I really do appreciate you elaborating on that and articulating your experience. I imagine you have to stay fresh with your content or with the subject matter if you're about to, do a live speaking engagement, or if it's to do with all of the platforms that you have a huge part in. How do you generate new ideas?
I go inward. I
Mm.
go inward. And now, granted, I am, as much as a creative, intuitive person I am also, my left brain is really strong as well. So I do research, especially in the areas in which I'm skilled at. I research, I see what the latest trends are. I enjoy that. But when it comes to really the content and the experiences that I create, those come from within. So, given that I have this practice of mindfulness, that allows me to be more connected, honestly, to my intuitive self. So, oftentimes I will have ideas that are sparked through journaling or in meditation or right as I'm waking up or falling asleep that I need to capture. I feel like God speaks to me in those ways sometimes, or when I pay attention to things like I mentioned earlier about doors closing. I don't think things when we're in alignment with our purpose, things tend to happen easier. So when we're in flow, things are easier. They don't have to be hard. So I pay attention to what feels like I'm in flow and what feels like I'm in resistance. And so, and sometimes I have to get out of my own way. So when I first created the Beyond the Business Suit retreat, I had an idea 2 years earlier. Oh, I need to do an event. And then I felt like all this resistance inside me, like, oh, who am I to do an event? I've never done that before. I'm usually speaking at events and creating my own event. That's going to be daunting. So I had to get through all of that. And once I made the decision that, okay, I'm going to do it, I hear you loud and clear, divine, I'm going to say yes, then I would be in conversations with someone. I would have coffee with someone in the days when we did that more often. And I would mention, oh, I'm working on this women's leadership conference and this is my vision for it. And they're like, oh my gosh, I would love to be a part of it. Next thing I knew, I had 13 people on my staff volunteering to help turn this into a reality. And it was just so beautiful to see. And the women who were there, who felt like their lives took a shift from being there, And not only the women who attended, but the women who said yes to volunteering to help me make this happen. It's been remarkable. And it was such a lesson about saying yes and getting out of my own way.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about your experience with your resistance and that mind chatter, that voice that tells us that we're unqualified or unprepared,
Yes.
right? And so to dive a little deeper into that, how would you say that you push through that? What is something that you can do to, or that you have done to resist the resistance, right? Or push through
Right.
to
Yes.
more the imposter syndrome.
Yes, and it's funny because I teach people on getting over imposter syndrome, and it's like, just because I know a lot about it and I know all the tools doesn't mean that I also don't suffer from it myself. So some of the things that really help me are one, having those moments, remembering that it's not about me. Two, having a strong tribe of friends and of support who can remind me of my brilliance as well. And then I have, there are tactics too. So if I'm doing a big speaking engagement, I may put on my ego boost Spotify playlist to get in the mindset. Then I will, do my power pose and do some visualization work before I go on stage, or these days on Zoom, and just get into a mindset of when I was really killing it, when I was really in alignment, and reminding myself of that feeling, that even if I feel like, oh my gosh, who am I to be in this space, that I can recall a time when I did feel completely whole and worthy and in my zone of genius, and choosing that feeling and that vibration over the one of fear.
It is so human to have those feelings, even if you have a lot of experience, and it still can show up. And it's just so nice to hear how you, Kylie, how you have personally, mindfully moved through those experiences and created bigger things than maybe you would have imagined, when you first started. So it's just that is very inspiring. So, and you speak very highly of and speak often about the people and your team. Share how you built your team? Oh,
Yeah, so there are different team members for different things. So, in the I shared with you for the Beyond the Business Suit retreat how that team came about, which was just so organic and beautiful. And then I also have people on my team. It's interesting now that I reflect on who is on my team. I have three part-time resources. One is a cousin of mine who is just young, vibrant, early in her career, and um, just beautiful young lady, who is really into a lot of the wisdom that I talk about a lot, and wisdom not coming from me, but things that I share. And so it's been great to one, leverage her skills, but also to have her learn in the process. So that's one. Another person, actually, I found her through a mutual friend and colleague of mine who actually spoke at the Beyond the Business Suit retreat. I was looking for an assistant, and she said, "Oh, I know my assistant has some capacity, and she does all of these things for me, from graphic design to podcast editing to picking up things that I need. Like, she is great." So that's how I met her. And then the third person, I was speaking at a session. I had a speaking engagement, and there was a woman there who was at the workshop that I led. And through her questions, I was just really drawn to her and her story. And then she followed up with me afterwards. I did a mastermind, an accelerator, like kind of purpose-driven mastermind and accelerator program in 2019, and she joined that. And during that, she loved she lost her job. And after that, she asked me, if there's any way that I can support you, because this is more aligned with the work that I want to do, then I would love to do that. And now she's my chief community officer for the Beyond community. And it was just, she just happened to be at the workshop the day that I led it.
And that's how it goes. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, so if you have a deadline coming up or some projects coming up, how do you stay on task?
Mm. Yeah, what I know about myself is that I do my best work under pressure. And as much as I try not to be that person, I also know that that's just a part of my DNA. And I say that because my mom was the same way. Like, as I would reflect on her and how she operated, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's where I get it from. But staying on task, I will say that as I am now, I have a 4-year-old daughter. My husband also works for himself. So given that we both work from home and we have remote learning with her and she's not independent at all, it's truncated my schedule. So I went from 10 to 12-hour days to 4 to 5-hour work days, which is a huge shift. So that has allowed me to be on task more because I have less time. So I have to be focused. But there are certain times that I need to like wake up in the morning and say, okay, these are the 3 things I am going to do, and I won't do anything else until I do these things first, even if it's the things that I've been dreading doing. I'm not doing anything else. I also categorize my list. Like, in my journals, I have lists. Every couple of days I write a new list. And sometimes if I have a short period of time, I'll put high, medium, low priority, and then 1, 2, 3 in terms of how long it's going to take. So 1 for easy, very fast. 3 is going to take a longer period of time. So for those high, like the H1s, so high priority and they're fast, I do those first. And then I go through the list like that. And that does help me, especially when I need it.
Awesome. And as it goes for mentorship, what would a tip be to gain a mentor?
Yeah, I mean, I think mentor relationships don't have to be formal. So you don't have to say, hey, can you be my mentor? You can see someone who you respect, you can learn from, and develop a relationship. And you may call them a mentor, they may never know it. They may embrace it, but it's not necessary in order to have that type of relationship. So one, I would say, find people who you can learn from and develop a relationship with them, but also know that it's symbiotic. Like, it's a give and take. I have learned so much from my mentees, so much. And there are points in time that my mentees, like, over time, I'm just like, that's my friend. And they're like, oh, I can't be called your friend. You're my mentor. But I have so much love and respect for them. And there's not, I don't see the hierarchy because I learn so much from them and their brilliance. So, that those are the 2 pieces I would say have really helped me a lot in developing those relationships.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I think times have definitely changed in that department. Because I think, like, back in the day, like, I would ask, like, my professors or something, like, how do I gain a mentor in this field or whatever? They would say, oh, you need to write a letter, da 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 da, ask to be,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. And now, like, things have just completely changed. It's not the same anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, what advice would you give someone who does not know what their passion is?
Mm. There are a series of questions that I would ask, and a few that help to uncover those are, what is something that gives you a lot of energy?
Mm.
So when you do that activity, you just feel invigorated. You feel lit up. What are those things? Another thing to explore is, what are those things that when you do them, you lose track of time? That Next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're still going. Now, I'm not talking about binge watching Netflix. I'm not talking about, because I hear that a lot too, like, oh, binge watching Netflix. No, that's self-soothing, like that's checking out, but something that you're actively doing that you lose track of time. So I remember when I was in my mid 20s, I had this period of time when I was working in consulting and I wasn't using my creative brain at all, to the point that in 1 year, I taught myself how to oil paint. I wrote 75 songs. There were like, I was painting all the time. Like it was crazy. And there were certainly nights when it would be a Saturday night and next thing I know, it's 1:30 a.m. and I'm still painting with my music on in the background, having a good time, making myself go to sleep. So what are those things for you is what I would ask.
That's awesome. So I know along your journey, you've learned a lot of stuff, but what would you say is the most important thing that you've learned along this journey?
Ooh, the most important. That is a tough one. I would say that we are all here with purpose. Many people go their whole lives trying to figure out what their purpose is. I don't believe that we have one purpose. We have, our lives were built with purpose. So the how life is created is so miraculous. Like when you get down to the process of the sperm and the egg and the timing and all of the things that have to be in alignment for you to be born and like full term and to be an adult, that is a miracle. So the fact that you are here means that you are here with purpose. So that is the most important thing that I believe that I've learned. Although there could be some more, but I do believe that's the most important thing and something that I remind myself of each and every day. And it fuels my work for sure.
I think just by reminding ourselves, it'll kind of light the fire from within. I think I'm gonna start telling myself that when I start feel a little down, like, no, Seb, you're here for a
Yes.
purpose. Like, come on, let's get.
That's right. That's right. And you never know what you do that's going to inspire someone else so that they can be better, so that they can have a fuller life and to fulfill their purpose too, because it certainly is a domino effect.
Oh, for sure. So let's think about little 18-year-old Kylie. Now, what is something
Ooh,
that you would tell little Kylie?
do you, girl? Do you? Do you? I mean, it is funny you asked that question because I think about my best friend and I. We met when we were 18, I think, or right before we turned 18. We may have even been 17. And we met on campus of the college that we went to on a tour. And she's now like, she is my person. She is the yin to my yang. She is my sister. And we were a couple of years ago, we found some videotapes from, like, this is dating myself, but like I had a video camera, like a Sony handy cam, and I was the one that was on campus capturing everything before our phones, before we even really carried cell phones, and before our phones had cameras and all that. So we were looking at these tapes and saying, who is she? Like how I spoke, like what that person seemed so different. One thing I will say about 18-year-old Kylie was that she didn't care. She was living her best life. She was not, she wore her midriff and was like, what? Like she was so vibrant and had no cares in the world. The naivete was so refreshing to see on camera. So I would just say, girl, just do you, do live your best life. And I will say, in my 20s, I did live my best life.
Yes.
So
So you lived it. You did
I
it.
did. I did. Settle down more now, but yes.
So I'm sure you read a lot of books.
Mhm.
What would you say that your top three favorite are?
Ooh, gosh, I'm looking at my desk, looking at my bookshelf. Three of my favorites, and it's a good hodgepodge. One is Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukov. Another is Playing Big by Tara Moore. And the third, there's so many. Well, there's one that I'm reading right now that I've been reading for over a year, and it's a doozy, and it's A Course in Miracles.
Mm.
And it is like I use it as bedside reading, because if I'm like wound up before bed and I open that book, even if I only read 2 pages, it just pours into my spirit in ways that very few books do.
As far as your self-care regimen goes, what is your one non-negotiable in that? Like, what is the one thing that you can't go without?
It's my morning routine,
Yeah.
like hands down. Like can't. Who I will. Yeah, there are very few things that will get in the way of my of my claim morning routine. That's what I call it, claim. Yeah, I have to claim my day every day, even if my daughter wakes up before I do and crawls in the bed and wants to go downstairs. I'll say, okay, we'll go down with dad. I'll be down in a few minutes. She's like, oh, are you doing your meditation? So she does. She gets it.
How did how did you figure out what was your routine? Like, how did you compile everything together?
Sure. So I'm back at the end of 2014 or 2014. I came across The Miracle Morning, which I don't know if either of you are familiar with it, but it's a great book by an author named Hal Elrod. And at the time, I was thinking, I want to do all of these things next year. How can I do that? Like, I can't do everything I want to do next year by doing the same things I've been doing now. And then I heard a podcast with Hal Elrod, and he was talking about the Miracle Morning, which is a pretty intense morning routine that is, I think, 6 steps. Usually takes about an hour to do. And I started a Facebook group called the Goal Crushers, and it was all about like, let's do a morning routine challenge with the Miracle Morning. And we've now done it since, like every year since. We just finished it at the end of January. We now have almost 400 people in the group. But every year, so we did that in 2015, 2016, 2017. By 2018, I was over the Miracle Morning. I still believe in it. I think it's great. But I also felt like there wasn't enough intentionality behind the steps and the sequence. So taking what he talks about in the Miracle Morning, which is about, it's the acronym is SAVERS, it's silence or meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling or scribing. And which are all great things. And he basically saw what are great people do, successful people doing, and I'll do all of those things, which is great in theory. But I started thinking about, okay, what is what I know to be true about what works in mindfulness and mindset practices. And I knew that centering was the first step. So I don't even remember how it came about. I think it may have been during a meditation, honestly, where it kind of came to me, and then I was working out that the steps, and then I realized it spelled claim, and I thought, claim your day, like, oh my gosh, like that's perfect. So it's C is for centering, so getting calm and centered, even if it's, taking a few deep breaths and listening to your breaths in and out. L is for lifting your vibration or lifting your energy. So I do believe, and even I bring this into the work that I do and how I do professional and leadership development. First, we need to be centered, then our energy needs to be elevated. And when we do those two things, then we're primed to be able to take in new information, take in professional development, even personal development, leadership development. So those are the 2 first steps. Then we go into appreciation and affirmation. So we know that the gratitude vibration is a very high vibration. So it's continuing to elevate that and thinking about the things you're grateful for. The A level has 2. So it's appreciation and affirmations. And affirmations is not just the I am statements of I am great, I'm wonderful, I'm successful, and all of those things, but really affirming the gifts that you have, the unique unique gifts you have. So each and every day, I'll remind myself of why I'm on this planet, what gifts I personally have been given, and the strengths that I have. Then the I is setting your intention for the day, and I also add in visualizing that. So I think about, how do I want to feel at the end of the day? What do I have scheduled for the day? What is the ideal outcome for each of those things that I have scheduled? And then the M is manifest. Go make it happen.
I
Wow.
love it so much.
That is
So
amazing.
genius. It's so genius.
I just love that that came about during a meditation, as you recall. I mean, like that's why that's the whole purpose right there.
Yes, and that's what happens. It happens so often that almost comical.
Oh,
That's when I know I'm in alignment. I'm like, well, this is pretty good. I can't even claim all of this because it really is. It's bigger than me.
I need you to make it into a book, a claim it
You
book.
know what? I think I've been thinking about it. I have a meditation on my website that is like a 7.5 minute meditation walking you through the steps. But I've been thinking about doing an audio book to talk more about each of the letters and why they're so powerful, and some of the science behind it too, which is really interesting.
Speaking of inspiration,
Yes.
what is an inspired action step that you can challenge our listeners to do this week?
Listen to yourself, and those times when you have those nudges. So whether it's, oh, you should really exercise right now, or get some more sleep, or you should reach out to that person, or you should launch this thing. Listen to that voice and actually take action on what that quiet, still, wise inner voice tells you. Because I promise you, when you say yes to that voice, that's when the magic happens.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your Beyond the Business Suit podcast?
Sure. So, Beyond the Business Suit, it's funny because it's evolved over time, but we really focus on giving women the tools they need to thrive at work and beyond. So some of our episodes we're talking about personal development, some we're talking about leadership development. Sometimes I'm interviewing people who I admire or are in my tribe and have a wise view of the world or experiences that others can learn from, so that we can truly elevate and be in that level of self-actualization, which I think is something that all of us have the potential to achieve.
Nikki and I listened to a couple episodes yesterday, and they were really.
Oh, great.
So, if you could step into our shoes, what would you have asked yourself that we didn't?
The question that comes to mind is, what is your superpower?
All
And
right.
I would say to ask it and answer it, because I don't think that we cherish this enough. But my biggest superpower is my intuition, hands down.
Yeah, women definitely have that gift.
He is always right. Yes.
And especially going back to the loving nudges that we all experience, that little voice, it really is coming from somewhere deep within. That is our intuition. That is that inner power and that source that we have that we're all capable of tapping into. So, what a beautiful question and answer that you came with.
I think that was planted in my brain.
So, Kaillei, are you ready to have some fun?
Ooh, sure.
All
I
right.
like fun.
A little game called Rapid Wrap Up. So we're just gonna ask
Okay.
you the questions, and you're just gonna say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
So, what is a must-have in your purse?
These days, it's been hand sanitizer.
All right, if you had a year off of responsibilities, what would you do?
Go to Bali.
Ooh, yes. Is there anything that you collect?
People. Good people. Like
Oh.
I was saying this to somebody earlier today, like when I see someone and I can see their gifting, they're stuck with me for life.
So, out of all of the feelings, what is the best feeling in the world?
Love.
What did you want to be when you were growing up?
A doctor, actress, and what did I say? A doctor. Well, yeah, there was an actress there too. So a doctor, actress, painter, and cosmetologist on the side.
So that's
That
really
was yeah.
that is like the whole brain integrated, right? That
Yep.
left brain, right brain, just like, yeah, I can do it all, multifaceted. What?
ABCs of me.
I like that. All right. So, what question should you never ask someone you just met?
Ooh. Are you pregnant? Or when are you due? Even if it looks like they're about to pop, don't ask that question.
I think a lot of people
Let
learn.
them offer it first.
It's a horrible thing to learn that the hard way, right?
Yes.
Who is someone you like to trade places with for a day?
Mm. Going back and forth in my mind are Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama. I'm going to go with Oprah.
So, Kylie, can you tell our listeners where they can connect with you online?
Sure, I'm on social media everywhere at Kaillei Carr. I have a lot of vowels in my name, so I'll spell it. It's KAILEICARR. And with Beyond the Business Suit podcast, we're also at Beyond the Business Suit on Instagram. And then I'm at KailleiCarr.com, BeyondTheBusinessSuit.com, and my business website is groupasbury.com.